joining us now. She is the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Senator Jill Vogel. She defeated two primary opponents in the June 13th primary, the Republican primary, and she is the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor, and she'll be facing off in the fall with Justin Fairfax, who ran for Attorney General, got beat by Mark Herring in 2013, and he's the Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor. And I have Jill Vogel as the favorite to win this race, a slight favorite. I think Fairfax goes in about 3 points behind, and I believe right now that my odds are Northam's the favorite, Vogel's the favorite, and then John Adams is a big underdog. That's just my odds right now. Things change, but I do have Jill Vogel as the favorite right now. I think she's got the best chance of any of the three Republicans to win, and she is joining us now. Jill Vogel, good to have you with us, Senator.
Phew, good morning. No pressure after that one. It's great to be with you. I miss being on the show.
I know, you need to come on more often.
And the problem is I'm on the campaign trail all the time and running around at dark 30 in the morning, either with yelling loud kids in the car or somewhere where I can't have quiet to be on the radio. But I'll fix that. I will try to make my schedule better because I love coming on. It's super fun.
Well, right now it's tough because it's in the summer and you got a big family and family first. So I get that. And by the way, I'm excited. Our daughter Claire is coming to visit for a week. I pick her up in Richmond on Friday. We haven't seen her since Thanksgiving, so we're excited about that.
Well, congratulations. Have fun. As somebody who is obviously, when family does come first, and nothing is ever right in your household if all the kids aren't right and they aren't all around and all the kids aren't happy and settled. So I'm super happy for you that she's coming home.
I'm excited about it, and so's Ann, and so's JoJo. He doesn't get to see her all the time. But the funniest thing in my household is that Sammy, our cat, he is happiest when everybody is in the house at the same time. That's when he is happiest. And if they come to visit, when our older kids come to visit for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and then, of course, they go out. They go out with their friends.
Right, of course.
You know how it goes. Jill, when your kids get older, you'll find that they'll come home, they'll eat, and then they're gone.
I know.
And then they come back at all hours of the night.
Yes, I have a few like that, which is very unsettling. And, yes, even the animals know that's wrong.
Well, the cat will not go to bed. The cat will not go to bed until, everybody is back, right? He'll just sit there at the door staring on the carpet, waiting for everybody. As soon as all the chicks get back in the nest, then he'll go to bed.
That is awesome.
I know. He's a funny cat, no question. All right, Jill Vogel, you had a press release the other day with your candidate for governor, Ed Gillespie, on your new opioid policy. Can you walk our listeners through that?
Yes, I am happy to. And I just want to say I am incredibly proud to be running on a ticket with Ed Gillespie and John Adams, who are two candidates who actually get this issue and understand it and are making this a central priority of policies that they want to pass when they take office in Virginia. And I don't think that there is any place I've ever been, any event where I've ever spoken where the issue of addiction recovery, opioid abuse, or mental health has not come up. And as somebody who has been in the Senate now for 10 years and has, introduced multiple pieces of legislation, worked on countless pieces of legislation that effectively, kind of ate around the edges. I've been an advocate for diversion programs and drug courts. I passed legislation this year to ban a synthetic opioid called Pink that's 7 times stronger than heroin. And yet all these things, again, simply eat around the edges. What you have to have is a strong statewide leadership that will focus on a comprehensive plan, because the issues of addiction and opioid abuse and mental health are issues that transcend any one issue area. And so, and I'll get to in 1 second just kind of what the main cornerstone pieces of this are, but it's really important to understand that these are education issues, they're healthcare issues, they affect, homelessness, they affect child welfare. I mean, it is staggering the cost to the Commonwealth of Virginia because we're not addressing these issues and we're treating people like criminals when they actually are sick. And I think that's a good starting point for, what it is that I propose along with this ticket and what it is that Ed Gillespie has been working on for, months and months and months with some of my fellow colleagues, and what he has been able to propose in a plan that, where I'm a partner and have worked really, really closely on putting forward, my own kind of, framework as well, is to bring people who have been somewhat resistant along, which again, I think speaks to the ability to leverage strong statewide leadership to move people off the dime who historically have been a little resistant. And I think that the core features of what it is that we propose are, this is not something that you can arrest your way out of. That is not working. And when you talk to those in public safety, and again, this is probably more a public safety issue now than anything else, our sheriffs and our law enforcement are on the front lines of dealing with addiction and mental health and a healthcare issue, and it was never intended to be that way. And Ken Stolley once told me something that I have never forgotten. He said, there are a population of people in my jail who have 100% recidivism rates. And they are people, frankly, who if I don't see them come back, then it means they're dead. And the tragedy is that they're really not criminals. They're people who are sick and they need help and they have no access to help. So part of what, I'm proposing is access to same-day services. Help has to be immediate. Recognize that there are multiple pathways to recovery. This is all part of also what Ed Gillespie has been working on and researching and is proposing and, what he will do when he's elected. This notion that it's not about, criminalizing this activity. These people, they're sick people. It's not a moral failure. It's a disease. And focus on early education and early intervention.
Okay, look, that makes sense. I mean, we have to do something about this. There's no question about it. And you've got, you guys rolled out as good a plan as any. Let me ask a couple of questions. The centerpiece right now of Gillespie's campaign for governor, I know you're separate. You're not running as a ticket. That's not the way it works in Virginia. You all run your three independent campaigns, although you're tied together. But he has proposed a 10% income tax cut in Virginia. Now, if you're lieutenant governor, you might be hitting the gavel and providing over the Senate. If he proposes that, it could be a 2020 tie, and you might have to weigh in on it, voting yes or no. How do you stand on the Ed Gillespie's 10% tax cut?
I can tell you, if you look at the level of competition in states around Virginia, where their tax climate is better, and they are creating a more competitive environment for businesses to come and for people to come, I can tell you that if we don't do something, and Ed Gillespie has a plan, and of course he can propose a plan, and the legislature is going to, we have a very strong legislature in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Anything that he's going to propose, the legislature is going to weigh in on. But I can guarantee you that any tax cut plan that is proposed that passes the House and the Senate or gets to a vote, I'm going to support. Because if we aren't proactive and we don't do something to improve Virginia's economy, improve our tax climate for families and for businesses, then we're not doing our job. It's something that comes up everywhere I go. It's the regulatory environment and taxes that are having the greatest impact on the quality of people's lives, the challenges that they face in terms of having economic freedom. And it's creating less and less incentive for people to start businesses in Virginia and stay in Virginia. And, I can't think of anything that has more of an impact than taxes, period. So absolutely, I would vote yes.
All right. So you would vote in favor of that if it did indeed come up. Let me ask you about a statement that Ed Gillespie made the other day. He blasted Ralph Northam, his Democratic opponent, for supporting the 2013 transportation compromise, the tax, if you will, $6 billion tax. I got to come clean on this. I was in favor of it. I was probably the only conservative media person in the country to back that bill, as did the majority of House and Senate Republican leadership. I think it was still the right thing to do, especially when you look at some of the positive road improvements that are being made in the pockets of high congestion in Virginia, 64, 95, etc. Did that make sense? And do you think that bill, in retrospect, do you think that was a mistake?
Well, here's my view of how I saw Gillespie's comments. I wasn't down in the weeds on that. I just happened to see it in passing. I think that his comments were more focused on a pattern and where he is vis-a-vis tax increases versus where, his opponent is with respect to tax increases. I think there were really, really important pieces of that 2013 compromise that were valuable and that have proven to be good. There were parts of that 2013 compromise that were very poorly put together and have proven to be bad. And so, I viewed it as a significant challenge for the Commonwealth. We were passing legislation before we really had in place, what we have now, which is smart scale, some of the things that came after that allowed us to actually rank projects and, actually execute this in a more meaningful way. And it was a tax increase, a significant tax increase that I voted against.
$6 billion.
But I will tell you that I think that what's really important is not to look back, not to judge, not to pick apart what's already happened. What's happened has happened. There have been good parts of that plan, and there have been bad parts of that plan. Virginia has got to get its transportation infrastructure in place. We've got to fund it. We've got to keep Virginia moving. It's all part of, investing in a vibrant economy. I think we need to look forward and not backward. That would be my issue with focusing on that. What people want to talk about is what it is we propose. I want to focus on the future. I want to talk about, the positive things that we can do, the positive things that we can change with respect to tax reform and making regulatory changes, getting out of people's way, getting government out of people's life, shrinking the size and scope of the dictates of government where they are literally ruining people's lives, and doing good things like, the big rollout that we just made, which is fairly shocking given where the Commonwealth of Virginia has been on things like mental health and drug policy. Some of the things that I've been working on and been proposing haven't always been in the same lane where my party has been. And that's one of the things that I'm focusing on, is moving us in a new direction. Trying to make people a little more broad-minded in terms of how they approach public policy. Some of the things that I've worked on that, people just have a knee-jerk no reaction to, whether it's in areas of mental health or whether it's, agriculture and letting us grow industrial hemp, something that would be phenomenally beneficial to Virginia's economy. Whether it's CBD oil for people who are sick, whether it's whatever the issue is. I am about looking forward and being positive, and don't necessarily think it's particularly helpful to go back and pick things apart from the past. But I think what Gillespie's point is I'm not going to put forward proposals and programs that are about raising your taxes. I'm about putting forward programs and solutions that lower your taxes and have an impact on transportation in a way that, isn't out there with a big tax increase. I think that's what that was about.
All right, look, fair enough, because I think you're going to win the race. I've got you as the favorite. If you're the lieutenant governor, there's a lot more than just, hitting the gavel. You're going to be involved in a lot of things. And right now, if you were to win in 2017, you go in 2018, the Senate divided 21-19. There's going to be a lot of ties you're going to have to break up with the fact you're going to be an advocate for what you believe in. Let me read a tweet here we got from Women First VA, who says, would you please ask Senator Vogel why she has stalkers and trackers at Justin Fairfax's house? Are you going to go super negative in this campaign?
Absolutely not. And I can assure you that all of my engagements with Justin Fairfax, they've been limited so far, have been positive. He is absolutely entitled to his positions in this campaign, and I'm not looking, again, that's the point I want to emphasize. I ran a primary where I was 100% positive in our message. Every debate, every forum was pleasant and meaningful, and we were talking about substance and issues. And that's the kind of general election campaign that I intend to run. And, when people try to, raise something like this, I've never even heard of such a thing, having someone in his house. I'm not aware of anything even remotely like that. The point is that I look forward to having an opportunity to spend time with Justin Fairfax and talk about issues. His positions are entirely valid, and he's entitled to talk about substance and policy from his perspective, but I'm going to talk about substance and policy from my perspective. And I have really, I have 10 years in the legislature. I've worked on issues for a very, very long time, and I have what I believe are great ideas for things that we can do to improve the Commonwealth of Virginia. But none of that requires anybody to be shrill or negative or hateful or judgmental. People hate that, and I hate that. And I think it's so counterproductive. And to the extent that we remain positive, despite, having lots of stuff lobbed in our direction, I think that was an incredibly productive part of our campaign. When we campaigned all over the Commonwealth of Virginia and then in the nominating process, I hope that will be a really significant piece of what we do going forward. We want independents. We want Democrats. So being on the attack and being nasty, in my mind, only alienates the people that we most want to be open-minded and to consider my candidacy.
Jill, let us ask you this here. We got a couple more minutes. A lot of people get in and they're running for lieutenant governor and they say, I'm going to turn this office into something. Like kind of when Bob McDonnell made Bill Bowling, kind of the job czar. But right. You've also got, it's a part-time job. It pays like, $18,000 or $20,000. It's a part-time job. You got a family. You got a business. You're a very accomplished lawyer in your own firm. So you got children. You got a lot going on, Jill. What would you do with that office in the limited time that you have?
Well, I think that I would take the same level of focus that I have had during my time as a state senator, where I have been a pusher on a whole litany of issues. Some with great success, and some I really met resistance. And that is why I relish the opportunity to leverage the platform that you have as a statewide elected office holder, to work with a strong attorney general and a strong governor. Imagine what you could accomplish if you had the opportunity to work with the legislature of your own party. And getting back to the substance of the thing that we just talked about, which is mental health and addiction recovery. People are dying every single day. If you consider the impact on the economy of the things that we could accomplish. And so I hope, one, for my campaign to mean something as we travel around the Commonwealth of Virginia and we talk about these issues. I want the campaign to mean something. I want it to have, raise awareness about issues that have been ignored, to have substantive and meaningful discussions about policy, and then actually have that time in office mean something, and have us really have transformative statewide leadership that will move Virginia in a whole new direction, and in some cases move our party in a whole new direction. And I really, really look forward to that opportunity, and I think I have an extraordinary chance at doing that. And the position of lieutenant governor, you don't have to just be a potted plant and break ties and be president of the Senate. You can be, as Bill Bowling was, a great jobs creation officer. One of the things I would love to focus on in my position not only is this economic development and jobs expansion, but something I've worked on that's been really near and dear to me, and that was when I worked as Deputy General Counsel at the Department of Energy. I was in charge of a regulatory assessment of, really terrible job-killing regulation. And we know that in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it's been cumulative year after year after year, the regulatory burden that we've placed on, you name it, private industry, it's been, individuals, you name it, across the board, even public education. We are really hurting the Commonwealth of Virginia by a very difficult regulatory environment that gets worse and worse every year. And that is something that I would love to focus on.
I just have to
Thank
say
you for
that
having me. I love being on.
It was great to visit. It's good to be with you. I just have to say that my favorite advertisement you have is the one where you're in the kitchen making breakfast. And every time I see that, I'm like, you got to invite me over to your house one day. I got to do my show from that kitchen
while
you're making breakfast. I want to do that.
There's a lot of animals.
I am going to do that. I am going to do that because it is my favorite ad of the entire campaign, just seeing you in there making breakfast. I'm going to follow up and get out there. We're going to do my show right from your kitchen. We're out of time. More information, Vogel for Virginia. That's F-O-R, vogelforvirginia.com, vogelforvirginia.com. I have her as the slight favorite to win this race here in the John Fredericks Radio Network.